One battle, one city, one myth. Stalingrad mattered, but it didn't decide World War II by itself. Factories, fuel, code breakers, and a second front did the grinding work. Here's the bigger picture, without the TV shortcuts. While the ruins of Stalingrad marked a brutal defeat for Hitler's army, they didn't seal Germany's fate alone. Behind the dramatic headlines lies a more complex story of factories, fuel, generals, secrets, and a second front crashing in from the west. The Volga mattered too. Stalingrad sat on the river that moved oil, grain, and steel northward, keeping that artery open and later forcing the Wehrmacht back from it, shaped supply far beyond a single battlefield. In this video, we'll uncover why the war was not won or lost in a single battle, and why Stalingrad, legendary as it is, was only one piece in a global chain of events that broke the Nazi war machine. Stalingrad's symbolic and strategic importance is undeniable. The defeat of the Sixth Army under Field Marshal Friedrich Paulus dealt the Third Reich a heavy blow. It shattered not only the illusion of Wehrmacht invincibility, but also the morale of soldiers and the German public. Reports from the Eastern Front show a profound change in attitudes after Stalingrad. A former German soldier recalled, "We had believed we were invincible, but after Stalingrad it became clear the war could no longer be won." The shock also worked in reverse. Soviet morale surged. For soldiers and civilians who had endured retreats since 1941, Stalingrad proved that a modern, mechanized enemy could be stopped, encircled, and forced to surrender. Historian Antony Beevor emphasizes that the defeat irreparably damaged the myth of German military invulnerability. Despite that devastating loss, the war was not decided after Stalingrad. Germany still possessed significant industrial capacity. In fact, weapons production peaked in 1944. Under Albert Speer, the war economy was mobilized to keep weapons, tanks, and aircraft coming, despite intensifying Allied bombing. This surge was possible through the strict use of every available resource. Women were drawn into industry, forced labor from occupied territories was employed, and production focused on war-critical goods. Nevertheless, Allied material superiority, especially that of the United States with its vast economic potential, began to tip the balance in their favor. Yet numbers hid fragility. Output rose, but quality control slipped. Fuel grew scarce, and transport bottlenecks worsened. Ammunition and spare parts arrived late, or not at all, turning paper strength into gaps at the front. Another decisive factor was the opening of the Western Front. With the Allied landings in Normandy on 6 June 1944, Germany faced a two-front war it could not win strategically. Operation Overlord gave the Western Allies a permanent foothold on the continent and a path to advance from the west. Hans Müller, a German soldier who fought on the Western Front after Stalingrad, recalled, "After Stalingrad we knew the situation was serious. But when the Allies landed in Normandy, we understood the war was lost. We couldn't defend two fronts at the same time. The U-boat war was already failing too. Once Allied convoys flowed steadily and air cover stretched into the Atlantic, the West became a conveyor belt of men and materiel Germany could not match." Allied air power played a crucial role in weakening Germany's war effort. Strategic bombing destroyed vital industrial plants, transport routes, and supply depots. This undermined Germany's ability to move troops and materiel efficiently, and the fronts no longer received adequate supplies. The destruction of cities such as Hamburg during Operation Gomorrah in July 1943 showed the devastating impact of Allied air attacks. Continuous bombing forced the Third Reich to divert significant resources to air defense, further weakening its frontline forces. Bombing was more than rubble. Wrecked bridges, marshalling yards, and oil refineries meant trains missed connections and tanks ran dry. Even repaired plants restarted at a crawl under constant alarms. World War II was a global conflict, and events in Europe cannot be considered in isolation. In the Pacific, the war between the United States and Japan consumed major Axis resources. Japanese defeats in decisive battles such as Midway in June 1942 reduced the Axis powers' ability to coordinate against the Allies. Thanks to its industrial might, the United States could operate in both the Pacific and Europe simultaneously. The American economy, called the Arsenal of Democracy, supplied weapons, vehicles, and other resources to Allied nations around the world, greatly strengthening overall Allied power. Strategy is about choices. The Axis fought three major industrial powers at once, while coordinating across oceans and languages, an asymmetry the Allies exploited through pooled planning and standardized kit. After Stalingrad, the Red Army launched a series of successful offensives. The Battle of Kursk in July through August 1943, regarded as the largest tank battle in history, ended in another Wehrmacht defeat. Operations such as Bagration in summer 1944 led to the near-total destruction of Army Group Center and opened the way into Poland and, ultimately, Germany. A Soviet veteran recalled, "Stalingrad gave us hope, but the road to Berlin was still long and bloody. Every battle was fiercely fought, but we knew we were gaining the upper hand." Crucially, momentum compounded. Every retreat shortened German supply lines only slightly, but lengthened Soviet ones over recaptured rail, with fresh formations replacing exhausted units faster than the Wehrmacht could. Resistance movements in areas occupied by Germany made a vital contribution to weakening Nazi control. Partisans in Yugoslavia, Poland, and the Soviet Union disrupted supply lines, carried out sabotage, and tied down German troops that could otherwise have fought at the front. The French resistance supported the Allied landings in Normandy by sabotaging communications and transport networks, greatly hindering the German response. In the east, partisan rail sabotage campaigns forced Germany to garrison thousands of kilometers of track. In the west, networks funneled intelligence to London, turning local knowledge into operational advantage. Germany's leadership under Adolf Hitler committed many strategic errors that harmed the war effort. The decision to prioritize the offensive towards Stalingrad instead of the Caucasus oil fields is often seen as a serious mistake. In addition, Hitler frequently interfered in military decisions, reducing the effectiveness of the German armed forces. Historian Ian Kershaw writes, "Hitler's inability to listen to his generals and his rigidity in strategic matters accelerated the downfall of the Third Reich. Micromanagement had a cost. No retreat orders produced avoidable encirclements, while prestige targets diverted armor from dull but decisive tasks: fuel, rail nodes, and reserves." Close cooperation among the Allies was another key to victory. The conferences in Tehran, 1943, Yalta, 1945, and Potsdam, 1945, allowed the leaders of the United States, Great Britain, and the Soviet Union to develop common strategies and coordinate their resources effectively. These diplomatic efforts synchronized operations and increased pressure on the Axis. Coordination wasn't just summits. It was shared timetables, convoy cycles, intelligence fusion, and lend-lease priorities that made disparate offensives land like a single rolling punch. The deciphering of the German Enigma code by British cryptographers at Bletchley Park gave the Allies a significant advantage. By intercepting and understanding secret German communications, the Allies could make informed decisions and thwart German plans. Technological advances, from better tanks and aircraft to radar, centimetric air-to-surface vessel radar, proximity fuses, and ever-tighter logistics planning, also shaped the outcome. The economic strength of the Allies, above all that of the United States, far exceeded that of the Axis powers. The American Lend-Lease program provided Britain, the Soviet Union, and other allies with vital supplies of food, oil, vehicles, and raw materials. This support was crucial to sustaining operations and offsetting losses and shortages. Trucks mattered as much as tanks. Allied motor transport, Studebakers and Bedfords among them, turned Soviet offensives into operational-level movements, while Axis infantry still marched on foot. Although the Battle of Stalingrad was undeniably a decisive turning point, it was not the only factor that determined the outcome of World War II. The war was a complex web of military, political, economic, and social elements that all shaped its course and conclusion. Allied material superiority, strategic errors by the German leadership, the two-front war, resistance movements, cryptography, and close Allied cooperation were equally decisive. Stalingrad was a symbolic victory and marked the beginning of the end for the Third Reich, but it was only one part of a larger mosaic. Stalingrad reset expectations. Logistics, coalition planning, and months of attrition finished the job. The tide didn't turn in a day, it rose relentlessly. Final victory over the Axis powers was achieved through the interplay of many factors that together changed the course of history.